welcome back to Open. Our last guest is a writer and illustrator, and her work straddles intersections, drawing and writing, mental health and mindfulness. And well, she can often be found writing poems in Central Park on her vintage typewriter, creating work that impacts and uplifts, reminding us of the simple truths we too often forget on this wild human ride. Joining us to share more, we welcome writer and illustrator Nasimeh. Hello and
Hi.
welcome.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me here.
Well, thank you for being here, and I love that we introduced you
Yeah.
with the visual, right? Because I got the visual of you sitting in Central Park with an actual
With
typewriter.
an actual typewriter. Yes. Yes.
I mean, how big is this typewriter?
It's small. It's a portable typewriter, so it was made to be carried around.
And it actually goes like this.
Yeah, it actually moves and works and functions, and each poem is totally created on the spot.
Oh my gosh, so it's written on that typewriter with the
Yeah.
bell and all.
Yeah, yeah. The bell, you don't hear the bell as much, but it does move around. Yes, the carriage moves.
So I want to open up by just introducing the fact that you are of Iranian descent, right? And I noticed that in a lot of your work, most of it is written from this place of distance. I mean, that's of course my
Oh, that's
interpretation.
so interesting. Yeah.
There's something about you reclaiming closeness
Yeah.
in a lot of your work.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's a take on it I've never heard before, so I love that outlook.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, of course, this is my interpretation. And then there's this wonderful, wonderful extended video that is on Upworthy. And it's still on Upworthy,
Yeah.
so you guys can enjoy. But really, what I'm referring to is your insight. And I just wonder if that has something to do with your origins, which is why I mentioned your Iranian descent.
Well, I'm glad you did. It's a big part of me. So yeah, I think that everything always relates to that. So I'm of mixed Iranian and American descent, and also raised in the South. So I was just always an other everywhere I was. I was always both, neither, and I think that that gave me a real sense of having to forge my own belonging and identity. So I think a lot of my work is about sort of like crafting belonging, bringing things together, like being a bridge, like all of that is thematic in who I am and therefore in my work as well.
And also the embracing of being
Yeah.
distant.
Absolutely, and the embracing of like, I guess creating ourselves.
It's
in
almost like
that
an
way.
oxymoron,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right? Because it's kind of like juxtaposed.
Sure, sure. Well, a lot of life is.
Is right.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Hence poetry, right?
Totally. But yeah, I think there is this embracing of viewing life from a lens that's not as right up against it, but taking a longer view of things.
And so in your work, there's activism in there, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, and again, going back to your mixed upbringing, but having Iranian descent, and I don't know what kind of role that played on you in your upbringing being in America.
Oh, deeply. So my mother immigrated here in the late 70s and then stayed after the revolution occurred, so she didn't want to go back there. And I grew up with her family here. So, and my grandmother lived in my house my whole life, my maternal grandmother. So it was deeply, deeply informative for me. And that activism just kind of naturally, I mean, both my parents are very, very big on being involved in the world and caring about it. But especially, I think, in these recent years, there's been a lot around Iran to try and uplift and share and help people understand that it's a different thing than they've seen a certain view of. And so it's been important for me to be a voice because I think that I can be a bridge as someone who often was.
Right.
Yeah.
And how many times have you found yourself having to fight for your own identity?
Yeah, a lot. From both directions.
Right,
From
because,
every
well,
direction,
because it's another form of colorism, right?
Yeah,
And that's the
totally.
conversation we're having because it's in your work. It's
Yeah,
all of
totally.
your work actually is about that.
Yeah,
indirectly.
Yeah, no, that's a big part of, I mean, again, I think there was this like, if I'm not, people often tell me what I am versus I saying, no, this is what I am, as well as saying, okay, well then I'm gonna forge my own sense of belonging and identity and home.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So in essence, it's like defense. You're operating from this,
Putting up my fist.
you know, but you do it in a loving manner. I want to say.
Thank you.
I gotta say, you know, I know I said this with my previous guest, and I'm not saying this just to say it. I enjoyed going through all of your work.
Thank you
I
so
really,
much.
it was very soothing as well. Because
I'm so
you,
glad.
well, you have this, you know, very the glass is half full outlook on life.
Yeah, yeah. I make a lot of content that's very attempts to remind people of the joys of being here.
From simple.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's so much of it is simple. Like, it's kind of incredible that you and I are seated here.
Right.
You know, it's amazing that there's TV.
Right.
It's
Right.
kind of amazing.
Right.
So
Right.
we forget that these things are kind of incredible, and I think it helps us all when we remember.
Right. And so, what is it that really moves you the most?
Ooh, that's beautiful. What moves me the most? There's not one thing. I think being close to life moves me the most. I mean, so I love living in New York because when I go out my door, I'm just confronted by humanity constantly. And I'm so touched by humans, right?
Yeah.
I watched, just like watching a mother and their child on the train will totally move me. Like, so it's just.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
those
I've
small
lived in
moments.
different parts of the United States, so
Yeah.
I understand completely
Yeah.
what you're referring to because I've lived in other places where there's a lack of connectivity, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody has to commute being in cars and, you know, you meet up at the destination,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But in the destination is not the same as experiencing what that point A and point B has to offer.
Yeah, totally.
In human form.
Yeah.
Which is what you were just referencing, right? It's like
Absolutely.
getting on the subway, seeing a mom and a child. You can run into anything and everything.
And you do.
Right.
Every
you
day.
do, and you do, and you do, right? And then there's that insight of what do you do with that, right?
Yeah.
And also the just the accessibility alone. And I'm really speaking to you from a mindful place, right? Because I know that that's another thing that drives you, and I'm into mindfulness as well.
Yeah.
And so when you have the opportunity to be with somebody like that, who's a complete stranger, who you may never have any words with, but then you can take in their spirit and have that moment of exchange just in a look.
Yeah.
This is priceless.
It's beautiful.
It's priceless.
I think one of the joys of, like, it's like when you connect with someone, even if you just spend 5 minutes with them, that can change your life if you're like really present with a person.
Present.
Yeah.
Present. Now you brought me back to the visual of you being in Central Park with a typewriter.
Yes.
Yeah, because I could, you know, I know if I saw that, I'd be like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So I've done that for 7 years. I've written custom poems for people in the park. I do it at events. It's just like a person comes up to me, gives me information, I write them a poem, I give it to them. Yeah,
Really?
it's wild, huh? Yeah, yeah.
You just give it to them.
Well, I mean, they pay for it.
Right. I was like, you just give it to them?
They pay for it.
No, it's a wonderful gesture because just the experience alone, once again, going back
Yeah.
to the exchange.
Yes.
Right? Because they give you whatever information, but then you have to personalize
Yes.
it according to the messages you're receiving.
Well, it's very much an energetic exchange.
Right.
It is. A person shows up with whatever, and my task is just to listen and then like move it into an art.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I get, especially with this beautiful yellow hat that you're wearing like a crown.
Yeah, the poet in the yellow hat. I often am.
But it sounds to me like you live your life as art.
Oh, that's lovely. I sure hope I do. Yes, I think that I'm always trying to remind myself that it's enough that I just exist, and it's pretty improbable that I exist given we're on this earth. That's
Right?
pretty wild.
Right, our home.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
so-
it is our home.
Yeah, it is.
First, before our,
Absolutely.
individualized residence.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, I do try and just like every day have it be enough that I'm here at all and have that, be an art in and of itself.
Right.
It doesn't always work.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, no, I get
there are
it.
hard days.
Yeah, but I appreciate you really going in there
Yeah.
and embracing and for that matter validating what I'm picking up, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm going, hey, Ain't that something to
Yeah,
live your life? Because I
totally.
feel you. I feel you. I'm like, yeah, look at you. Look at you. Yeah. So, what else do you do before we go?
So I illustrate as well, and then I create a lot of content online, and I make videos online, and a
Great.
lot of the videos are around these themes of mindfulness, mental health, and then just like sort of reminding us of the thing we just forget such simple things about presence and being here. But yeah, I make illustrations that are around those themes. I make little books that I sell when I go out to the park, and basically words, images, and videos are my world that I create.
Well, I know you're going to be performing for
I'm
us.
gonna do 2 poems for you.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
this.
me too.
And unfortunately, we didn't give her any content for her to customize it to me. But I'm going to work on that for the next time.
Yeah, I should have brought my typewriter. Yeah.
That's all right. We'll make it happen another time. Probably in the summer, right? When
Yeah,
you would be out in the park.
absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
perfect.
All right,
Yeah,
we're going to do that. We're going to do that. But before we go to break, really quickly, what would you like to leave our audience with a small, nice bite size of mindfulness?
That's great. Just remember, when you get lost up here, come back here. Get back in the body. Go outside. Take a breath. Look up to the sky. You aren't alone. Like that's, I think, one of the biggest things we can do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. The reminder that we all live under the same sky.
We do, for better and for worse.
Ah, I love it. Yeah, it's true. I mean, everything's a matter of interpretation. All right. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank
You guys
you.
don't go anywhere because when we return, Nasimeh is going to perform for us after the break and you don't want to miss.